Before symbols, pause. Before religion, pause. Before mystery, pause. Because before we talk about what Göbekli Tepe means, we need to talk about what it required. There's a question archaeology rarely starts with, not because it's complicated, but because once you ask it, the entire story shifts. Here it is. If people built Göbekli Tepe, someone had to feed them. That's not poetry, that's biology. Human bodies built this place, not beliefs, not myths, not ideas carved into stone. Bodies. And bodies don't function on symbolism. They function on calories. Everything else comes later. You've heard the phrase, they were hunter-gatherers. It sounds like an answer, it feels like an answer, but it's a shortcut. Hunting and gathering works under very specific conditions. Small groups, high mobility and flexible timelines. When food becomes scarce, you don't double down, you move. But Göbekli Tepe is not a temporary camp. It's not a shelter from the rain. It's not a seasonal village. There are no houses here, no hearths, no evidence of families living day-to-day life. People didn't settle here. They traveled here. And travel without guaranteed food is not bravery. It's suicide. So why did they come? Let's imagine the reality, not the romance, not the mythology, the logistics. Day 1, food is plentiful, morale is high, work begins. Day 3, supplies feel tighter. The math starts happening in people's heads. Day 5, a hunt fails, weather shifts, energy drops. Someone asks the question every group eventually asks, do we leave? And once people leave, the project doesn't shrink. It collapses. This is not speculation. This pattern is visible across early human history. Large groups cannot gamble labor on luck. Luck does not repeat on schedule. Göbekli Tepe required reliability, and reliability requires systems. Another explanation is often offered. They gathered seasonally. At first, this sounds reasonable. But seasonal gathering doesn't reduce demand. Tea concentrates it. More people, harder work, less time, which means more food immediately, and not food that might exist. Food that already does, stored, protected, planned. Someone had to signal readiness. The food is secured. The site is prepared. Come now. That isn't chaos, that's organization. And organization leaves traces even when belief systems do not. Forget stone tools for a moment. The most advanced technology at Göbekli Tepe wasn't a blade. It was coordination. Someone decided, when people arrived, how long they stayed, who worked, who prepared food, who hunted, who protected supplies. Someone managed shortages. Someone resolved disputes. Someone maintained trust. This doesn't require kings. It doesn't require writing, but it does require structure. You don't walk for days into uncertainty. You walk toward places that work. Trust is not built by belief alone. It is built by repetition. Religion is often used as the explanation, and belief does matter. Belief motivates. Belief unites. Belief gives meaning to effort. But belief doesn't dry meat, protect grain from moisture, prevent spoilage, stretch rations during shortages. Ritual can gather people. It cannot feed them. Every long-term project requires stability. That reality makes us uncomfortable, because it suggests organization may come before ideology. Look closely at the site. Repeated layouts, consistent proportions, carefully aligned pillars. This is not improvisation. This is not experimentation. This is repetition. And repetition only happens when systems work. Failed systems leave debris. Successful systems expand. Göbekli Tepe expanded, again and again, which means the logistical backbone succeeded, not once, but repeatedly. Here is the idea. It's not dramatic. Organization may predate agriculture, not farming as we imagine it. Not fields and plows, but managed abundance, seasonal harvesting, controlled hunting, storage, distribution. Enough stability to support large projects, enough predictability to invite people back, enough structure to repeat success. If this is true, then Göbekli Tepe isn't an anomaly. It's evidence. Göbekli Tepe wasn't home. It was a destination. And people don't travel to uncertainty. They travel to systems they trust. That fact matters more than carvings. Because if this problem exists here, it exists elsewhere. Other gathering sites, other ritual centers. Either Göbekli Tepe is unique, or our timeline is missing a step. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're here to ask questions that survive pressure. If this way of thinking stays with you, you'll know when to come back. If people built Göbekli Tepe, someone had to feed them. That question didn't end the mystery. It opened the door to the next one. Because feeding people is only the beginning. The real question is this: who controlled the food? Not symbolically, not spiritually, practically. Because food doesn't just sustain bodies, it shapes behavior. And once food can be gathered, stored, and released on command, power begins to form. Quietly. When archaeologists examine Göbekli Tepe, they find something unexpected. Large quantities of animal bones, signs of repeated mass consumption, evidence of feasting. Feasting sounds celebratory, but in early societies, feasting isn't about joy. It's about leverage. A feast is not just food shared. It is food controlled. Someone decides when it happens, who attends, how much is given, who goes hungry afterward. Feasting creates obligation. You eat today, you owe tomorrow. This is one of the oldest social technologies humanity ever invented, and it leaves marks deeper than stone. Wild animals do not gather themselves. Large-scale feasting requires predictable herds, coordinated hunts, storage between events. This means planning beyond survival. Someone had to anticipate seasonal migrations, weather patterns, population size. This is no longer reactive living. This is forecasting. And forecasting requires authority, not through force, but through reliability. People follow those who can feed them. Always have. Imagine arriving at Göbekli Tepe. You don't come empty-handed. You bring labor, you bring time, you bring obedience to the rhythm of the site. In return, you are fed, not equally, not randomly, but intentionally. This is the silent contract. Food in exchange for participation, and participation is shaped. You carve when told. You lift when told. You stop when told. No chains, no guards, just dependency. This is not domination. This is organization, and it is far more effective. Look closely at the carvings. Animals dominate the imagery. Predators, dangerous creatures, powerful forms. These are not decorations, they are signals. Control over animals means control over food. Control over food means survival. Before gods rule skies, humans first revere what feeds them. These carvings reflect a world where animals are not just hunted, they are managed. And management is the first step toward domestication. There was no moment where humans said, "Today, we invent hierarchy." It emerged quietly, from repeated success, from reliable distribution, from leaders who proved again and again that they could make abundance appear. Power didn't arrive with crowns. It arrived with storage pits, with controlled access, with timing. By the time farming appears in the archaeological record, the social framework was already built. Fields did not create hierarchy. Hierarchy made fields inevitable. Not everyone at Göbekli Tepe was equal. They couldn't be. Some planned, some coordinated. Some stored food. Some decided when feasts occurred. Others worked hard. And work rewarded selectively creates loyalty. You don't rebel against those who feed you, especially when hunger is close. This is not cruelty, it is efficiency, and it scales. Ritual didn't replace logistics, it reinforced it. Ritual creates predictability, emotional buy-in, moral justification. If food distribution feels sacred, it feels unquestionable. Ritual turns control into duty, and duty into identity. You don't just eat, you belong. This is how systems outlive individuals. If Göbekli Tepe functioned this way, then agriculture was not a discovery. It was an escalation. Once food control worked reliably, the next step was obvious. Make food permanent. Animals closed, plants controlled. Farming didn't free humanity. It locked the system in place. The social structure came first. The fields followed. Göbekli Tepe was not a miracle. It was a prototype, a test of whether humans could coordinate large groups through food, ritual, and obligation. It worked. So it spread. Across regions, across generations, and eventually it became invisible. Because once systems succeed long enough, we stop questioning them. We call them normal. But the stones remember, and they ask us something uncomfortable. Was civilization built on belief or on control of calories? We're not here to give answers. We're here to follow the pressure points. And they're only getting sharper. Pause for a second and think. Would you do this kind of work without guaranteed food? Let me know in the comments. If this video changed how you think about early history, subscribe. The next episodes explore the systems textbooks don't talk about.